Hi, this is Mr. Chandler. This is the 5.1 video. Please follow along in the notes guide and fill in the information in there. In Standard 5.1, we're looking at the development of American expansionism, and we're talking about the change from isolationism to intervention and the rationales for why imperialism started because of social Darwinism, expanding capitalism, and domestic tension. We need to review two terms before moving on. The first is social Darwinism. This applied Charles Darwin's theory of evolution to social situations, so the whole idea of survival of the fittest in social settings. It was a way to basically justify bad actions by saying that we were better, that we worked harder, and so that's what we use for imperialism as well, that we should be taking over those other countries because we're better than them. We can teach them how to be more like us. The other term is capitalism, which was our economic system. This is basically the belief in the free market system where individuals should own all the factors of production. So we view that the same way as we move outside the country, and as our economy expands, then we want to expand to other countries. Initially, we start off as a very isolationist country, at least in regards to moving towards other places around the world. And the reason for that is primarily that our military doesn't have the ability to go around the world. We don't have a very large Navy at the time. And George Washington actually urged us to stay isolationist. However, we're pretty far from isolationist if you remember the westward expansion and us like taking all the stuff in the continent, the Mexican War, the Texas Revolution, all of those things. The Monroe Doctrine is another really good example of how we really were not that isolationist early in American history. Remember, the Monroe Doctrine said that we should be the protector of Latin America and that Europe should stay out of Latin America so that we could be involved in Latin America and benefit economically from trade with them. The main reason or rationale for imperialism was that we wanted to expand capitalism. We just had gotten through the Industrial Revolution and we needed places to sell all of our extra goods that we had made too. We also needed raw materials from those countries like crops, like for instance sugar and Cuba. And so that's why we start moving outwards and trying to take new places. Kind of similar to what we did during westward expansion. Another reason was all the domestic tensions that were occurring in the United States. We talked about the different depressions that had taken place, strikes, farmers' unrest, and they thought that imperialism would lead to overseas markets where manufactured goods could be sold and produce could be sold, and that would help both factories and farmers, and so it would benefit everybody in the United States, from workers to farmers to everyday people. Another reason or rationale for imperialism was that there was growing nationalism in the United States, and this really fostered a desire for us to grow our Navy and to have a larger Navy that would be more of an impact around the world. This Navy would then help protect trade and help secure markets around the world while also helping to spread Christianity. And we do end up building that Navy, and it's pictured over there on the right, and that's called the Great White Fleet. The last rationale or reason, and really the way that the United States justified it all, was through social Darwinism. And this led to the idea that Americans were far superior to these other cultures and countries, and that we should expand there to fulfill our own destiny, and that we should go over there to try to help those countries and help the people there and make them more like us. And you kind of see that by the description over on the side, where the white skull looks more like a human skull, while the other skulls look more like animal skulls. This was the same as like that white European superiority that had been around in the U.S. before that, especially with like the Native Americans. Really the belief that we're going to teach them how to be more like us. The last reason or rationale has to do with international developments. There was this competition for markets with European countries that we're trying to compete in, whether it be China, Cuba, Latin America. There were also liberation movements in Latin America, like Cuba wanting their independence, and so we want to then step in and help Cuba, but then we also want to control their sugar. And then there's the Spanish-American War, which is going to make the U.S. into a world power. So in conclusion, this new expansion led the United States to try to spread American ideas, religious belief, and capitalism to other nations, but also initiate a lot of foreign resentment because of American interference in those areas. This isn't that much different than early in American history, except the one difference is it's overseas as opposed to being part of the continental United States. The idea of American superiority and social Darwinism, however, do not change. Please go to Canvas and do the video quiz and turn in the notes guide. Thanks.